Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, getting back together again. And today we're going to go a little bit different. Is that in the past we've been responding to some emails, and I'm responding to an email, but what led to this discussion today was actually a call. So I received an email. It says perils of unintended consequences for not evolving our technology. So being curious, I called the individual who wants to remain anonymous. But they were sharing with me that they work at a labor union. They have another good friend that works at another labor union, and the friend is constantly modernizing their technology. They even went under a migration to NetSuite ERP 2 months ago. And as he or she looked at her own union, was looking at morale and productivity has continued to slide in the wrong direction, and certainly amplified by the pandemic. And the main theme was, what advice may we have for them to share with their decision makers about the perils of unintended consequences for not evolving? And so we left our discussion, and I said we'd get our group together here, and specifically you, Wally, who can perhaps provide some of those thoughts that they can bring back to the decision makers about that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story. I mean, modernizing and innovating solutions and systems, business systems, are very important in today's marketplace. Compliance, access to your data, single source of truth of information, reporting, all those things are very important to us, and there is a significant consequence of not doing anything and modernizing as you move forward. Everybody around us is moving forward and driving forward with their security and their new systems and their new elements. Hey, Ashley, you have a client using NetSuite. What kind of things have you seen with this particular customer as they're using the application and modernizing their business processes?
Yeah, it's been really cool to see that transition for them. The biggest thing immediately is the accessibility to data, financial data, quickly and easily, and in a way that's easy to digest and analyze. They just have it's more transparent, and not that it was hidden before. They are a transparent organization, but in the sense that they could more quickly look at source documents because they were right there, easily to be found and looked at. So yeah, analytics and the reporting, there's just a lot. And then there's the part where, they really worked with their staff to change processes and habits so that they could adapt to the new system better. And so they've also streamlined those processes, which has improved efficiency with their group and improved collaboration. So, the ripple effects really have been significant. And, what I think is interesting, which kind of reminds me from what Brian was saying, was that they were on the previous ERP system, had been no longer supported by the software vendor. I mean, we're talking years and years where there are no more updates. There was no active service available, help desk or anything like that. So they were definitely needing to do it. And I just wonder, in your experience, because I don't think they're definitely not the only ones that are like that, where they're using an unsupported software like that.
I think you're right.
Have you seen that? Do you see that other way? What are the risks with that? What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think outdated systems are prevalent. We do a lot of work going into companies who are trying to modernize or trying to think about how to get there. And so we do a lot of cloud readiness assessments and try to help them understand what they need to do to prepare to deal with their outdated systems and what that means. Many times an outdated system is actually costing them more money in efficiency and actual hard costs, even as companies look to get maintenance dollars from those old dated applications, and they're getting those maintenance dollars, which in essence equate to as much, if not more, than moving to a modern platform. And that's part of the readiness assessment as you think about it. But those outdated systems tend to have compliance issues and challenges. Single person risk is very key here, because you might have one or two people that know that system cold. And the minute they leave, that asset walks out the door. And it's very important to make sure that you have a lot of that information documented, so that as you move to an application replacement, and you start to think about the drivers of going to the cloud, things like working remotely, collaboration, cost reduction. Can we be more agile, which many of the unions want? They're not maybe looking to grow and expand, they're just looking to be maybe more efficient and work remotely, work from home, and be able to report and allow their people to have a lot more flexibility in their day-to-day work jobs and lives.
Wally, I've actually seen that quite a few times, where a client has a system that was internally developed maybe 20, even 30 years ago, and that key person, they're nowhere to be found. So they're almost stuck using this old system. Are there things that can help a client in that position migrate and kind of get up to speed and leave all the risk associated with that old system behind?
Yeah, that's interesting. All the risks. The word all always scares me when I'm going in and talking to our customers, right? What I want to make sure is that they understand you have to prepare and plan for that change. That change doesn't mean, it's going to go on forever. It's going to be a nightmare. We're not going to be able to get there. But if we plan accordingly, if we get those people that are the single people risks today, and we get them folks in the room, and we talk about what is relevant and not relevant. And when I talk about a cloud readiness assessment, Jason, what I'm talking about is marrying up what functionality you have today with what functionality exists right out of the box in modern software. Many times, the customizations and workarounds and effort that many of the organizations go through don't need to happen in that new modern system because they're out of the box technology. They're more efficient, they're friendlier for collaboration, they connect to your natural productivity tools. So something like NetSuite, say, could connect to Outlook, for example, and now you have a connectivity of information going between your finance system and your email client. So all of those things exist today as you start to modernize and think about ways to go to the cloud and become more efficient and cost conscious as many of the union folks would need to be.
Great, thanks, Wally. So if you're going to make this decision, right, to modernize or not modernize, is this really a cost issue, or is it a matter of productivity and the ability to handle future demands, many of which you may not even know what they are? How do you weigh kind of the cost benefit of that?
Yeah, what's interesting there is, first of all, the decision is going to be made for you very shortly. Most suppliers, in fact, almost all suppliers of software are now investing heavily into the cloud and less for on-premise. Even the big solutions that are out there. So from small, QuickBooks, Intact, Microsoft, NetSuite, all of them are investing heavily in the cloud. Some of them were born in the cloud, like NetSuite, and they were only ever cloud and they were never on-premise. But to your point, as I'm thinking about how we might go to the cloud and what that investment and timeline might be, as you're going through and thinking about it, you're thinking about what do I need to include, how do I need to include it, and who needs to be involved. And if I start to go through those processes, I can become more ready, more prepared, and get to a place where you'll be more efficient in the future, rather than think so much about so much about if it's going to be now, when are we going to do it, and be the companies that get ahead of this are plan ahead, they're prepared, and they have a smoother transition as they migrate to the cloud.
This, as normally we'll do a little summary, and to me, I think this whole video is a little summary. So I'll be sending a link to our website for this, but a little of a departure from the technology and all the benefits that has. We mentioned the word compliance, which for labor unions is huge, and so that certainly is not surprising that compliance is huge, but that there's such a tie-in to not evolving on your technology and compliance and the benefits of increased data accessibility leading to better productivity and collaboration. And we talked about the security and of not having that single person risk. And so there's definitely much of a case here to be made about sort of what is at risk here by not evolving, but the compliance is certainly a huge theme of that. So I appreciate all the internet, and like I said, I will be sending out the link to respond to this one particular email. And it sounds that, you know, Jason had mentioned about the cost, and the, you know, there's a dollars cost as well. And I think at a future segment here, we'll talk a little bit about that cost of sort of migrating to the cloud, and some of that savings that may be seen more long-term or even in the shorter term, where there's some sort of outdated software on hand. So something to look forward going ahead. And like I said, feel free to continue to send the emails and our With Them website. You can see these videos along with the prior ones and the future ones that we'll be issuing. Everyone take care, stay safe.